The subject of this series is a specific sector of the Imperial Japanese Army, led by an arrogant yet brilliant Japanese nationalist that wanted nothing more than to elevate his own status while pushing Japan to the forefront of quite possibly the most vicious form of warfare. We'll travel back to World War II and lay witness to entire communities being wiped away by disease. Thousands of what will be called Marudas be horribly experimented on, and we'll see how you can commit some of the most horrendous acts against human beings in history. But if you are seen as useful, you'll probably never see a moment of prison time. You wanted war crimes, you'll get war crimes. Today we give you episode 1 of Unit 731. I'm Kevin Young.
Have you suffered an injury from a torture-related accident? You might be entitled to compensation. Call us now at Torture Claims for You at Klondike 5 69 69 69. We can help you today. Sort your fucking claim out.
Klondike 5. Oh, it's like an old Abbott and Costello bit. And this is Torture. Oh, fuck. Klondike 5, 69, 69.
It's the only way I ever think of starting American telephone numbers.
Yeah, we don't do that anymore.
Oh, I know, but...
And that was
so your number is what? Klondike 5? What? Or told me. I already know the prefix.
5. Yeah. No. Yeah, that was back when they had still you just call the operator and they just plug you into the thing.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that when I said the Mr. Plow one.
Yeah. Oh fuck! Well, how you doing, buddy?
Good. Yeah, I'm still sick, technically.
Yeah,
I'm still blowing my nose all over the place, coughing my lungs up.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, the wife's having a hard time getting over whatever she had. I
It's
still
called
got
being married. That's what you can't get over.
Yeah, I hear you. I got a sneeze and a little bit of a every once in a while, but I'm doing better. The nose will run at some point while I'm out here, just because of all the talking. But I'm not too bad.
I've come prepared. My Snuggie pouch is filled with tissue.
Just gotta remember which hand you put in, because you might put in the used hand.
Yeah. Right side is used, left side is clean. That's the plan. You know, I might find a cat in there at some stage. God only knows.
Yeah. Oh, finally warmed up here a little bit. We were having some super horrible weather for a while, but all the ice, snow, and everything is starting to melt. And
Good.
I don't like it when it warms up. I like it colder. I don't necessarily need it, as cold as it was the other day. I sent you that screenshot from my phone where it was negative 13 degrees Celsius or some shit like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was worse. It was actually worse than that. Yeah, because I was outside at the time. I was having a cigarette break from work, and I was chatting away to one of the guys there, and he was like, "Oh, it's so cold." And then you happened to text me. I was like, "You fucking think it's cold here?" Boom. And he's like, "What the fuck?" I was like, "Yeah."
Let's see if I can find. And yeah, it was fucking freezing. And it was here was bad, but you go up north to Minnesota, Michigan, Wisconsin, everything. It was a lot fucking colder up there. It's I found it a negative 18 degrees Celsius.
Yeah, I was going to say I thought it was around 16 or so. Yeah.
Yeah, negative 1 degree Fahrenheit here, which it's fucking cold.
Yeah.
It's cold as fuck. Cold enough to where the house did not want to warm up. The heater was running all fucking day. So, but, whatever. What are you going to do? I got those. Thanks to everybody who came back and listened to our first episode back from hiatus. Really appreciate it. Not like record numbers or anything. We didn't have people like flocking, be like, "Oh, they're back!" But it was
Bastards.
good. It was good to see. Got some messages online about, "Hey, good to hear you guys are back." So, while we were down, we joined Blue Sky. Fuck Twitter. Fuck Elon. Fucking Nazi, which is what he is. So we went to Blue Sky. I haven't really posted a whole lot on there yet, but find us at Torturepod, obviously, and start posting more. Other than that, I don't really have a whole lot of banter today. What we're going to get into is going to
say, is TikTok banned for you yet?
No. TikTok got banned. We got put in TikTok timeout. For all of 15 hours, which is all it was.
Until Elon bought it out, brought it back.
I mean, it's. I think Zuckerberg probably bought it out. Everything about TikTok over here. Everything about TikTok over here is different. The app works differently. You don't see the same shit. There's people complaining about having to go refollow prominent Democratic and progressive voices like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Congresswoman from New York who's extremely progressive. People are complaining about how they have to go refollow her 5 or 6 times because the app keeps unfollowing her for them. It's slowly becoming a right-wing propaganda machine.
It doesn't sound suspicious at all.
No, not at all. It doesn't work the same. We constantly get Facebook and Instagram ads now, which we never had before.
Of course.
Yeah, it doesn't. It's not as streamlined as it was. They took it down at like 10 o'clock the night before the ban, and then it came up around noon the next day. And all of a sudden, the guy who owns the thing or the CEO of the thing was like, "Thanks to President Trump." And I let him cream on my back, and he gave us TikTok back.
Which is extreme list of demands.
Yeah.
And everybody blue was banned.
Yeah, it's all it was just because we all got a little thing like right when it went away, said TikTok has been taking away President Trump. He wasn't even president yet. He was president-elect. He hadn't even.
But he would still be referred to as president because of his previous term, though.
You can, He technically he could be, yeah. I don't.
I just refer to him as Dickface, but
Dickface. Well, you get a little thing that says President Trump is working hard on giving you your TikTok back. And then after it came back online, it was, thanks to the efforts of President Trump, you now have TikTok again. Like,
President Trump personally went into the server room and was all like, yeah, let's sort this shit out, boys.
Well, so the whole thing was, it wasn't like, oh, Congress is going to we're going to send police to wherever TikTok's based out of in America, all the servers, and we're shut them down. It was TikTok needs to shut down, otherwise you're going to be charged $5,000 per user who's still on TikTok after the ban, which equaled up to be like $8 billion a day or something like that in fines. Biden came out and he said, listen, because the ban was on the 19th, the inauguration was on the 20th. Biden came out and said, listen, we're not going to enforce this. 36 hours, so the last 24 hours into 12 hours of Trump's presidency. The DOJ, the district attorney, is not, or Department of Justice, is not going to enforce this ban. All right, we're not going to charge you your fines. You can keep running. And then Trump can figure out whatever he wants to do. And they said, oh, that's not good enough. So they shut it down anyway. It's like, all right, Biden tried.
I was going to say, but that's fair enough, though. I wouldn't trust that Trump wouldn't do something after the fact, retrospectively.
Yeah, Trump's like, oh, well, we're not gonna find you either, or we're gonna work it out, give you TikTok back. It was all 100%. It was a Ronald Reagan with fucking Iran against Jimmy Carter. It was the whole same fucking thing. Whole same TikTok. Fucking thing.
And now the most downloaded app in the entire of America is some Chinese AI
Red
app.
Note. Yeah. People are using their social security numbers as their password. It's like, oh, they're afraid that TikTok's going to take our information. I'm just going to give it straight to the Chinese Communist Party. And that's exactly what they did. Because I guess when you sign up on there, you have to agree to uphold the Chinese Communist Party, pledge allegiance to the Chinese Communist Party, all this, which kind of fits in with what we're talking about today. But all this different shit about the Chinese Communist, it's a Chinese-owned app, and it's propaganda for the Communist Party. Because now everybody's going on there like, look at what's going on in China. You can afford to eat. You can afford to do this. They have a work-life balance. I mean, how great would communism be? It's like, it's Chinese Communist propaganda. This is exactly what they tried to tell you TikTok was. Yeah. It's communist propaganda.
You can't see the guns off screen holding to their heads, making them smile as you eat
everybody's
your food.
Like, oh, we're going to move to China. Look how nice, because you have Americans over there who are expatriates who are posting about how great it is to live in China. It's like, don't just don't fuck your life up by moving to China because you see a few people on an app that is literally propaganda for the Chinese Communist
I'm
Party.
sorry, but just public service announcement right here. If you're stupid enough to think that, do it. All
right.
Do us all a favor.
True enough.
Just go.
I mean, it's just, I'm surprised North Korea doesn't have the same thing. Be like, look how nice it is in North Korea. Yeah. Of course it's nice in North Korea. If you litter, you get shot in the face. Of course it's
We
nice
have all of 4 haircuts to choose from. There you go. I know they got rid of that, though. But
well, for a while, it was just the one. You had to have the same haircut as the supreme leader. Otherwise, something bad happened. You got put in a fucking concentration camp. But no, they had, Fox News hosts went over to North Korea and were talking about how fucking beautiful it was and how great everything was. Look at their subways, their public transit. And granted, it's beautiful. Everything's nice and clean, but that's because you will get killed if you litter.
I'll just give you a heads up. You're going to have a bit of a thing in my audio now. I can see it kicking in. I think it's the washing machine has been turned on. Below.
Oh, okay.
So I can see a little thing appearing. It's like, what the fuck's that? And I just checked my PC and I was like, is that my fan? Did I leave it on high again? Like an idiot?
Yeah.
And it's like, no, then I took off one ear just there and I can hear it.
That'll be all right. So with Stephanie and I used to record, the air conditioner out here would kick on. And all you could hear when we were recording it.
That actually just reminded me of something I heard before we get kicking off into this, because we really should. But I was watching this thing to do with Star Wars, right? And you know the very opening scene of Star Wars where the ship comes past overhead, right?
Yeah.
Fucking love that shit.
Iconic. Yeah,
so
iconic scene.
I can't remember the guy's name, but he was the head of the audio shit, right? They basically paid a buttload of money to fly him out to an airbase place in America for him to record all these different sounds of all these different jets and planes and everything that they had going around the Air Force Base, and paid a buttload of money so they could have them all taken off, and he'd be sitting there recording them all and flying by and landing and all that shit, to try and get the perfect sound for the spaceship. All right, and apparently he hated every single thing he recorded except for one single thing: the air conditioning unit in a crappy motel room he was staying in. And that is the sound of the ship at the start coming over in Star Wars, is the AC unit.
No wonder every time I watch that movie I get a little chill.
Yeah.
Like, ooh, cool. Well, it's just like with the raptors in Jurassic Park. It's just two tortoises doing it.
Yeah.
And honestly, so I for those of you who have followed the podcast for a while should know by now that I used to work at the zoo. And there would be times, and we have a big tortoise exhibit there at the zoo, Galapagos tortoise exhibit. And when it's nice outside, they are outside. And there's a lot of times, one of them, I can't remember the tortoise's name. It's just like a generic name, like Larry or Jerry or something weird like that. He will climb on top of one of the females, and little kids will just be watching it. All of a sudden you'll hear, And you can hear, it's loud, dude. Man, you can hear that thing from like a quarter mile away. It is fucking loud. So you're like, oh, yeah, getting some. Woohoo, good for you, buddy. Single-handedly keeping the species alive.
Sounds like me.
Yeah.
Literally and figuratively.
Literally and figuratively. I'm out here doing that. The wife's going to come out here and be like, what are you doing?
Yeah, everybody seems to think I'm like one of the fucking Sam people from Star Wars. Next door must think that. So yeah, he's getting his jollies.
Oh, fuck. All right, well, I say we get some horribleness to get to.
Yeah, let's get to some Asians killing people here.
Yeah.
We're back to Asian people torturing, killing people here. Mm-hmm. Like we were in Nanking. And
they do it the best. I mean, you got to give it to them.
Them and the British.
Goats. They are the goats. Yeah. The reference material for this series are Unit 731, The Forgotten Asian Auschwitz, which, I mean, right there is going to tell you what you're in for, by Derek Puya, Danielle Dibro, and Alistair Rogers. And Japan's infamous Unit 731, First-Hand Accounts of Japan's Wartime Human Experimentation Program by Hal Gold. There's also a variety of various fucking websites that I pulled up and looked at stuff, some first-hand accounts and shit of horrible things that happened. But yeah, if you want a good idea of what you're about to walk into, remember our Nanking episodes. You know,
wonderful.
Not so much the first episode, because the first episode was more of a history lesson, but the second and third got
that stuck with you.
Stuck with you. Yeah. There are some things about that I still. And actually, there's something about this series that I kind of left out because of what we did in the Nanking series. Because I didn't want to have to traumatize myself. Because I have to. Dan, I don't think you ever listened to that last episode of Nanking or that second episode.
I listened to it back now.
No. Yeah, I have to listen to it over and over again because I'm the one who edits it, so I don't want to have to hear the same thing over and over. So some things were left out. I don't know what to tell you. Anyway, Dan, let's take you back to 1984 to the condo.
So long ago.
Yeah, it was. It was a year after I was born. That's how fucking old I am.
I wasn't even a twinkle in my daddy's eye.
Yeah, you weren't even a spermie in the sack yet.
No.
To the condo. What was big in 1984? I don't remember because
Madonna,
I was, you know,
Bon Jovi.
Oh, I'm sure Madonna was huge. Yeah. 1984.
George Orwell.
It's what it feels like we're living in right now. Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom apparently came out.
Van Halen Jump.
Gremlins. Nightmare on Elm Street. Beverly Hills Cop. I mean, When Doves Cry by Prince.
Oh, Eat It by Weird Al Yankovic.
Yes,
Yankovic,
Jump
whatever.
by Van Halen. Purple Rain. Thriller.
Smooth Operator.
Oh, yes. The Apple Computer famous ad 1984.
That's not as
launches
important.
the Macintosh.
What the fuck did that ever do for anybody? Come on.
Michael Jackson's hair catches fire while filming a Pepsi commercial. All these great fucking things. Again, for people who are watching, I have Indiana Jones punching a Nazi. Kids,
Nice.
punch Nazi. Punch your local Nazi. It's a good time. Only cool people punch Nazis. So we go back to 1984 to the Kanda district of Tokyo, an area that once housed whole communities of craftsmen in the Edo days of Japan. This once bustling center for trade was, after the devastation of the Second World War and the American occupation, more known for its used kimono sales and secondhand bookstores. Many World War II widows selling off their husbands' prized possessions for much-needed money. Well, in 1984, Kanda was known as a student town. These secondhand bookstores would regularly be browsed by students from Keio University in Tokyo for cheaper textbooks. Well, you, Dan, just happened to be one of these no-name students. And while searching through a box of musty papers, which by the looks of them seem to have been belonged to once to an officer of the Imperial Japanese Army, you notice some scientific documents. Sketched maps with arrows showing wind direction and unexplained symbols scattered about. Papers with tables, columns, and rows that seem to show different symptoms of human disease. The progress of these symptoms being carefully measured at regular intervals. They begin charting to the point at which the subject died. One table headed with the number 691 showed death after 5 days. Table labeled 991 had taken 10 days. Measurements of muscle tension at various parts of the body during the disease. Spasms being noted. The main narrative and research protocol section of the report you learned concerned tetanus, an agonizing disease where the victim frequently dies in violent, painful, and unpredictable muscle spasms. You are obviously disturbed by the findings. The table's full and detailed, appearing to have recorded symptoms from the beginning to the fatal conclusion. To your astonishment, the paper revealed that each subject had been deliberately infected, in one case by injection to the heel. You have unwittingly uncovered perhaps the only surviving original evidence of one of the greatest secrets of World War II, something that, much like the atrocities of Nanking, would be denied and swept under the rug by the Japanese government for as long as possible. You have unearthed, in this small secondhand bookstore, undeniable proof of
Half-Life 3.
731. That was the big crescendo. That was the big climax movement. He came in and he fucking took it.
I fucking had to.
fucking Squirrel Master came out of left field.
Anyway, sorry, you were saying?
Unit 731. There we go.
Cool.
Yeah, so this is at the very beginning of one of the books. And it's like, this is, from what I can gather, this is kind of where the whole thing kind of snowballs, as to people learning about 731, Unit 731, about now there are symposiums that go around showing you the horrors of Unit 731, a museum set up for it. And it all kinds of starts because one medical student searching through shit at a secondhand bookstore and found these papers, these very detailed papers.
Wouldn't it be wonderful if you just wrote something like that? Like pure fiction.
Yeah.
And just made up this whole fucking thing. Did the old tea stain job on it, make it look a bit shit. Just shove it in a random book. Stick it on a shelf. Sit back and watch the world turn to chaos. You know, like...
Some people want to watch the world burn, Mr. Wayne.
It'd be like, yeah, exactly. You know, like Blair Witch Project-y thing, you know, like where everybody thought it was real for
everybody thought, yeah.
Yeah, be like that. That'd be... I have an idea. Quickly,
coffee stain.
Get me my typewriter. Let's go.
I know how to age a paper. I saw it online. When people do D&D maps, they just spread coffee all over it, and it makes it look old.
Get the papyrus out quickly. Big eye, little eye. Good picture of a guy doing this.
You're writing stuff out. No, that doesn't seem right. Ye old.
Yeah.
So how far back are you going? They spoke like that in the 1920s, didn't they? No, they didn't. Now, to fully understand how Unit 731, the Biological Warfare Department of the Imperial Japanese Army, and all its satellite facilities came to be, we have to go back quite a ways. Specifically to the Kamo village in Chiba Prefecture, in east of Tokyo.
1983.
1892. Don't do that, because I will start fucking doing that shit. You know I will. Be like, 1982. I mean, 1892. God damn it. And this is filled with Asian cities and Asian names that I will murder. So I apologize already. It's almost as bad as my French. June 25th, 1892, the birth of a one Shiro Ishii, the fourth son of a rich land-owning family, wealth going back as far as the day of shogun warriors. Ishii was smart, hardworking, but many of his childhood classmates regarded him as brash, abrasive, and arrogant. He regularly talked down to what should have been his peers. Later on, his daughter will later on say, yes, I understand that some people see him that way, but to me, he was just, he was loving and nurturing, and you know what? Goebbels was a fucking cut up from what I understand, and I'm sure Mengele had plenty of people who he loved and loved him. That doesn't change the fact that he's a fucking monster.
Yeah, people loved old Adolf.
Yeah.
You know, when you see those comparisons between him and Churchill, the whole thing, I mean, a vegan and all that shit.
Yeah.
You know?
And a meth head. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
How can you not love the guy?
I bet you this guy, you know, that you're talking about had really fucking cool hair.
He was a decent looking dude. If you look him up, Shiro Ishii, he was a decent looking guy. He was huge as far as Japanese standards went, a full 6 foot tall with a, quote, booming voice. He easily gained entrance to the Kyoto Imperial University. He graduated in medicine and joined the Imperial Guard as an army surgeon. A fierce nationalist, he was instantly at home in the military. Now, if you listen to if you haven't listened to our Dan King's episodes yet, what are you fucking doing? Go back and listen to those. There are definitely the first Dan King episode is our most popular. I think it falls off a little bit after that because a lot of people they get like halfway through and realize
it's fucking tough.
They can't handle it. It is a tough one to get through. But
just look up a picture of this guy while you're listening to it, the Shiro Ishii dude, and he'd be fine because that is one fucking awesome mustache.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man. It's always the ones it's always the ones you least expect, and he's just a decent looking guy. All of a sudden, next thing he's fucking infecting you with typhus. Anyway, go to our Nanking of if for anything the first episode where you get kind of a little bit of a history lesson of how Japan came out of literally bows and arrows to when America showed up with warships, and they're like, hey, you know what you guys should do? You guys should militarize and help us. And it went poorly after that. And all the way to like the Second Sino-Japanese War, and Japan deciding that, well, they were the forefront of Asia, and they were the leaders of Asia, and everybody else had to fall in line, and they were going to be militarily and economically and morally above everybody. Maybe the first two, definitely not morally. And how the Japanese kids were indoctrinated to love Japan and hate everybody else. That the Chinese were subhuman. They were less than. And the horrible things that some of the kids were made to do in school and in military school. And it seems like maybe that's kind of the way that another country is starting to go, and I'm not too fond of it myself.
No, that's the way Palestine and Israel are. Well, Israel with Palestine.
Yeah, Israel. Yeah. So I'm not going to get into a big history lesson. But I'd say no more.
It'd be anti-Semitic of me to say somebody is.
Oh yeah, you can't say anything bad about the government of Israel, but you'd be seen as, Anyway, I'm not going to give you a whole long history lesson of how Japanese overtook parts of China and getting into World War II and everything. Go back, listen to our Nanking episode if you want that. Anyway, in 1922, he was attached to the First Army Hospital in Tokyo. In 1924, he returned to Kyoto to continue his studies as a postgraduate researching bacteriology, serology, preventative maintenance, and pathology. It was this year he would head out to the island of Shikoku, where a highly virulent form of encephalitis had broken out, encephalitis had broken out, with a 60% mortality rate it would eventually claim over 3,500 lives. So when he arrived, Ishii began devising an effective filtration method for isolating the microscopic virus thought to be the cause. Now, whether this actually worked or not, we don't know. But it would bring him into contact with two fields of research: epidemic prevention and water filtration. That's key for him. And in 1927, he would gain his doctorate in research on gram-positive twin bacteria, his professor remembering him as an audacious and often inconsiderate student. Quote, "In a word, Ishii was flamboyant. At night, he would use test tubes and apparatus that other students had washed clean. At the time, there were 30 to 40 research students, and they had to be careful to share the lab equipment because there wasn't enough to go around. He would come at night to do his work after everyone had left. The others would be really annoyed when they came in and found them dirty the next morning. He married the daughter of President Araki, the university president, whose lodging was close to the lab, so Ishii would drop in on him. He was really cheeky pushing his way into place like that." Which, that's just the most annoying fucking thing. You do all this work to clean shit up, and then somebody just comes behind you, dirties it, and then leaves it dirty. Oh, God, I'd punch him in the face.
Mm-hmm.
You looking around for your family, Dan?
Mm-hmm.
Or just one specific person?
Yeah.
It's almost like he was a kid, you know? Just
exactly.
Very brilliant,
it's...
very arrogant, but inconsiderate.
It sounds like only his sister liked him, so...
Yeah. Now, by this time, Ishii had already been advancing the cause of biological warfare at the War Ministry, even having a hearing with the War Minister to emphasize the role of bacteriological warfare and in technical planning. They were not yet receptive to his idea. Just a couple years earlier, on June 17, 1925, the great world powers signed a protocol in Geneva prohibiting the use in war of asphyxiating, poisonous, or other gases and of bacteriological methods, with the exception of two major countries, Japan and, Dan, can you guess the other major country that said, nah, we're not going to sign something saying we can't kill people with poison gas? Take a wild guess.
It's a toss-up.
Oh.
Germany?
No.
Russia?
No.
America?
Hey! Got it on the third try.
I was thinking of Germany, and then I was like, as they were crazy into, obviously, we all know Holocaust stuff, but then that was also done behind closed doors, so I don't know why I said it. But
it wasn't done on the battlefield.
Russians were mad into using shit. So they don't use mustard gas a hell of a lot of the time and stuff. So
so the Germans obviously used the gas in Germany and Poland in the concentration camps, so technically not on the battlefield. Russia, I believe, used it. I believe Stalin used that type of shit on his own fucking people half the time. But America was like, nah, I mean, if we can use it, you know, their use of mustard gas is, I mean, pretty well known. So yeah, they weren't above using it on the battlefield. Not so much just, well, I don't want to say not so much just putting in communities, because they did that too. America is pretty horrible. I can't stand here and say that that what Japan did was horrible and then defend America, because America did a lot of the same shit, and we're just as fucking horrible. The days that we're
the only ones who haven't done any of this shit.
Irish,
that
the
out
only
there.
people in the world that have thrown their hands up going, hey, it wasn't me.
Yeah.
Me is the Irish. Maybe New Zealand. I don't know. But you guys are pretty much the only ones going,
we just gave everybody liver failure.
Wasn't me. I'll get you fucking drunk. All right? You get fucking cirrhosis from me. But you're going to have a good time.
They were trying to develop some form of killer gas, you see. And we ended up making alcohol instead.
Yeah.
And we went,
Well, every time you guys made something, be like, this could be used at wartime. What's it fucking taste like? He drinks like, oh, yeah. Fucking, hey, get the distillery ready.
It's like that Family Guy. Well, James McGinnis has been making down his basement. He calls it whiskey.
Plane landing, just bottles everywhere. Yeah. So the world's greatest power signed a thing saying that they weren't going to use these types of methods in war, and Japan didn't sign it, but they weren't convinced that they should do it yet. They just didn't say that they wouldn't do it. They were leaving their options open. All right.
So like divorce papers, just leaving them on their desk, kind of sign those later.
Yeah, it was the Facebook post. It was the it's complicated.
Yeah.
So you're not really in a relationship yet. I'm leaving myself open for So in 1928, he decides to take a 2-year world study trip, visiting 30 different countries, including Russia, France, Germany, and America. And when he returned, he told his superiors, obviously lying, that the Western countries were secretly researching biological warfare and that Japan needed to do the same or face destruction. I'm not saying he's lying about them secretly researching that stuff, because I'm sure they were. I'm saying he's lying because he wouldn't have proof of it. He wouldn't know that they were. They're not going to take this Japanese guy and be like, "Hey, you want to see something neat, buddy? Come here.
Welcome
Look
to the
what we're
secret
working
side
on."
of the government.
There's a good chance that we'll be fighting you in about a dozen years. So come on, let's see what we're doing.
Don't tell anybody.
I'm going to hold you to that promise. Yeah. Pinky swear. Yeah, no. So, obviously, America and Russia and Germany, I don't know about France, but America, Russia, and Germany were definitely doing some type of secret research into how they could use, maybe not so much like anthrax or the plague, but definitely mustard gases, definitely different type of nerve agents and stuff like that. They obviously were working on that.
There's actually,
but he wouldn't know.
I don't know if you've watched it. We're watching that, the Night Agent at the moment, the Netflix show.
I've seen previews, or I've seen trailers for it. I have not actually watched it.
That's good. Like there's a whole thing in it to do with I'm not going to say much about it, but like to do with the American government secretly researching like things like this, basically.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny like that. That's what we're talking about now. After just starting to watch it.
You're gonna be watching at home. Be like, oh wait.
Yeah. Did you know?
I know this. No. Did you?
That's that Japanese guy.
Turn to Allison. Did you know? She'd be like, my God, no, please don't. I can't handle it.
I can get through the entire Lord of the Rings without saying that. I can't get through Star Wars without saying it now after learning that interesting fact. Can't get through the first 3 seconds of it.
Yeah.
Now.
Well, because it's right there at the beginning.
As soon as it starts, as soon as the scrolling is finished, it's like, pause. Did you know?
Oh, yeah. Every time I watch a movie that I know a little bit tidbit of information on, I have to say it. Like, Killer Clowns in Outer Space. Did you know all the killer clowns were actually, the puppets were turned into the trolls in Ernest Scared Stupid? Did you know that?
Really?
Yes. Watch Killer Clowns from Outer Space and Ernest Scared Stupid. All the puppets that they use for the clowns, they just dirtied up and made look like trolls, and they used them as trolls in Ernest Scared Stupid. It's fucking great. Or when you watch like the old Jungle Book cartoon and the old what was the other one? Jungle Book and there was
it's the same sequence.
The animation is exactly the same. They just changed up the character.
Was it Peter Pan or something? I don't know.
It could have been Peter Pan. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's the bit when he's dancing with
dancing with Baloo. Yeah, on the
with Blue and
the log.
The king of the monkey guys or something like that. I can't remember. I thought that was the scene, but maybe no.
Baloo is the bear.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the. Anyway, it doesn't matter. We're getting off.
We digress. Back to the Japanese researching how to really hurt people. Right.
So by August of 1930, he was promoted to major and went to work in the Department of Epidemic Prevention at the Army Medical College in Wakamatsu, teaching during the day and continuing his biological research at night. It was here where he would invent a water filter that could be used on the battlefield to keep the Japanese troops hydrated and healthy. And this water filter, I mean, it's quite the marvel. It's a ceramic filter, much better than the ones they had before, It came in different sizes. There was one as big as a fucking truck that had to be shipped out there, and they had smaller ones.
The guy just sitting there, with hose in his mouth, walking along behind it.
I'm
hydrated.
Don't get that one and the exhaust.
Like, I think we see the Japanese troops coming. Their water truck. It's like 100 water trucks. The guy's marching behind it.
He just the water truck shows up 3 days before so they could set everything up and put it in the little. Nothing happening here. Don't worry, it'll be fine. Just fueling up with some water. But this, like, you can kind of owe all of our major water filtration advancements, which has been has changed the world, really, to Ishii and this ceramic water filter. So, I mean, you could also hand it to Hitler that, if it wasn't for Hitler, we wouldn't have, the fucking Volkswagen. Or,
Well, if it wasn't for Hitler, man wouldn't have gotten onto the moon. So...
Yeah, because
the
US,
V2 rocket program is what.
Yeah, America took all the Nazi scientists and brought them over here and be like, "Tell you what, we won't throw you in prison if you can get us to the fucking moon," and that's exactly what they did. Yeah. And they didn't go to prison. So
it's a great TV series about that, actually.
Yeah.
I think it's called Hitler's Mega Machines or something like that. You should look it up. It was a History Channel thing. It was really cool.
And they had the most advanced airplanes at the time.
Yeah,
they could have wiped half the earth just away if he had been a smarter military man, which he really wasn't.
His investment into those mega machine things was a big issue. Like, you know, it's like making the giant tank, for example, that wasn't usable and stuff like that, and that massive fucking railgun thing, the thing on the train tracks. Did you ever see that?
Yeah.
And then there was the U-boat thing that he had going on. It was fucking nuts. The guy was fucking lunatic.
Well, he loved trains. He went. I can't remember who told me or where I saw it on, but one of his biggest, like, one of the things that generals and all them had to kind of steer him away from, because his big idea was to load up his military on a train and just drive the train straight into Russia, into like Stalingrad,
why not?
to do a battle and be like, they'll just blow the fucking train up, dude.
He called it Das Choo-Choo.
Das Choo-Choo. He wasn't the top military mind of his time. We'll say that. He was a great cult leader, though. You got to give him that. He knew what he's doing when it came to bring people together, and then he just let the people who knew what they were doing do what they did. So I think that's. I'm going to go out on a limb here, have a hot take. That's the qualities of a great leader, is to divvy out the responsibilities to the people who know what they're doing, so you can sit there and take all the fucking glory.
I have a funny feeling it was also, he may have been a bit smarter than some people might give him credit for, and he was doing it to alleviate some of the war crime guilt from him onto other people.
I don't think like any war crime guilt.
No, that's my point. No, not emotional guilt. Like, I mean, literal.
Oh, the blame.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Because, like, look at the Nuremberg trials. Like, I mean, realistically, if he was alive, he'd be the only one really up there, but he was following orders type job.
He'd have been top of it.
They all knew what they were doing, and he knew they all knew what they were doing. So.
Oh yeah, it wasn't this whole following orders thing. No, they knew what they were doing. They're happy to do what they were doing. Yeah. Most of them. Also, he was on meth. So,
did you know?
That they had an air conditioner in Star Wars. Anyway, again, fuck Nazis. Hot take, fuck Nazis. He needed a... Where the fuck was it? Oh, he was the director of the department. We went on a fucking tangent. I lost my place. He was
in Lord of the Rings.
Middle Earth Hiking Club. He was the director of the department by 1932 and convinced his superiors to build a new research lab the next year in order to work on his new, very illegal project. He needed a more secluded and secretive accommodations. Luckily, A few years earlier, the Japanese army occupied Manchuria. Now, this area would be perfect for Ishii's work. The large, underpopulated area would perfectly camouflage what Ishii had planned because of the poor sanitary conditions in Manchuria. The Japan Yearbook of 1935 described Manchuria as, quote, since its extensive borders on Mongolia and Serbia and is inhabited by different races, many of whom lead the insanitary life of extremely primitive conditions, and especially since coolies and refugees are constantly migrating in large groups, the risk of spread of dreadful infectious diseases is rather common. In the past 20 years, Manchuria has often been afflicted by such plagues. For instance, the pneumonic plague of 1910 and 11, cholera in 1919, pneumonic plague again in 1920 and 21, and again in 1927. The prevention of infectious diseases, therefore, is extremely important in Manchuria.
I went to Japan and all I got was this crappy disease.
I went to Manchuria and all I got was the plague. Just get the t-shirt. That's our next t-shirt. I went to Manchuria and all I got was this crappy plague. Ishii decided to set up in the Paris of the East, a city on the eastern banks of the Sungari River, Harbin. The first lab there was a reconditioned soy sauce distillery just outside the city, given the code name Togo, which if there was a more stereotypical Japanese thing, I couldn't think of it. Oh, well, we're going to do this, but we're going to set up inside a soy sauce factory in Togo.
Nice.
Students and researchers that were sent to work with Ishii and his new Tokyo Epidemic Prevention Laboratory were told they would, quote, engage in special research projects.
They all died from sodium poisoning from drinking all the soy sauce that was left over.
Did you see that some guy had posted, he got his thing of sushi, and he went and grabbed his soy sauce to fill up the little container to dip the sushi in a bit. He's like, this is the worst I've ever had in my life. And he looks out of the bottle, and it was vanilla extract.
Fucking
it's like, oh, God, that would be fucking horrible.
Yeah, especially if you're not expecting it. You know,
it's just straight vanilla. Just, it's not, no, thanks. Now, by 1936, Togo unit would be moved inside of Harbin to a new two-story headquarters with 1,000-strong workforce. The nature of this unit would need to be kept secret from the rest of the world, with the innocuous-sounding title of the Epidemic Prevention and Water Supply Unit of the Kwantung Army, a workforce filled with many military surgeons and university doctors. Which really, I mean, if it's pretty ingenious, because if you're caught with any of these horrible diseases, you'd be like, well, we're trying to figure out how to prevent them.
Yeah.
Well, what about these that are, water-based? Well, it's a water supply unit. We're trying to figure out how to keep people, and we have all these medical students and surgeons and university doctors. It's all above board.
Nothing suspicious going on here.
Nothing suspicious going on.
We're making them so we can cure them.
With half a face. Oh, he was born that way.
It's like we made the atomic bomb to learn how to prevent being hit by an atomic bomb.
Exactly. At some point, you have to test it on real people, not just mannequins in the middle of the, Nevada desert. So, Japan.
Yeah, we don't think it will have the same effect on human flesh as it did on that building over there.
Had to see what was going to happen. There's only two ways about it. You got to see what happened. Now, after virtually saving an entire regiment with his water filtration after a cholera outbreak, he was promoted to colonel. Now, and soon after, the Kwantung Army began moving the Ishii unit to a new location south of Harbin called Pingfan. This would be known as Unit 731, and would be proclaimed a special zone of the Kwantung Army. Now, with the around 3,000 men, no one was allowed to reside in or near the territory of the detachment, and no unauthorized person was allowed to enter. It was permitted only to the unit's personnel or those given permission from the commander-in-chief of the army. 3 square kilometers of territory hidden behind a high wall, dry moat, and high-voltage wires. It took 2 years to construct the 150 buildings, which included accommodations for thousands of people, railway siding, and incinerator, a powerhouse with tall cooling towers, an animal house, an airfield, an insectarium, a large administration building, an exercise yard, and a strange, foreboding square-shaped building known as Row Block, which hid 2 other buildings known as Block 7 and 8. Now, Row Block was the center of the bacteria production and disease research. Blocks 7 and 8 had a more sinister purpose. We'll get to that on the next episode. So the work began. The work in question? Well, first they had to answer the questions: what kind of microorganisms make effective warfare agents? Should it be lethal or just incapacitating? Can it be produced in enough quantities sufficient for war? Can the organisms be kept alive through storage and shipment to the battlefield? And what munitions best would deliver the organism? Because you can't just fill it inside a grenade and toss it at somebody.
Yeah, go and lick people.
This is Steve Cooper. We gave him typhoid. He will lick you now.
That's it. You send Steve in a barrel. That's what you do, and you just leave. And he just comes out Trojan horsing, and you go. Ah!
they just pack him full of anthrax and just roll him down a hill. Well, ever since Ishii had visited Europe, he had been fascinated by one of the deadliest diseases known to man, the bubonic plague, characterized by
he said boob.
He said boob. Which technically it's bube, but I mean, it's more fun to say boob. Characterized by a swelling of the lymph nodes in the armpit and groin, or the buboes. After 2 or 3 days, the bacteria often invade the lungs, and pneumonic plague, a far more serious form of the disease, develops. Before modern medicine, the pneumonic plague was a death sentence. Highly infectious and only taking 3 to 4 days to incubate, the onset is abrupt with chills, high fever, and extreme weakness. Red eyes, congested face, coated tongue. The victim becomes manically delirious, and death can be rapid, sometimes within a day. This was historically transmitted through the bite of an infected flea after it had fed off an infected rat or guinea pig. Which, I mean, I think we've all suffered through the wild movings of giant packs of guinea pigs through your neighborhood.
Yeah, we're ripe with them.
The fuck do you find a wild guinea pigs?
You don't want to fight one of those. Tell you, they're much different than the ones that people have at home. They're about 3 times the size, big muscly fuckers. You know.
I think they were in The Princess Bride. Yeah. Just walking through the woods.
They look like kangaroos, but they're not kangaroos. You know, it's like kangaroo mixed with a crocodile. Yeah, that's what they're like.
I mean, you think of it, it's like we have hamsters and we have guinea pigs in like pet stores and shit. But when was the last? Where do you find them in the fucking wild? There's no wild fucking guinea pigs and hamsters.
There's no wild cows either
running around. There used to be, though.
I know. That means there used to be wild guinea pigs, surely.
Well, you gotta admit there's still some out there somewhere. We couldn't have domesticated all of them. How difficult would that have been? How difficult would that have been? You see this wolf that I made into my companion?
Yeah.
You see this wild cat I made into mine? Guinea pig! I mean...
I'm Googling wild guinea pig. Wild guinea pigs.
Also, the word guinea pig almost sounds racist. Just putting that out there. Now, while Dan looks up that. On Roblox, which I wonder if that's where the Roblox game came from. I hope not, because that would be horrible. On Roblox's first floor was a vast bacteria factory, coated in a smell of rot. The workers went about in a dimly lit and windowless corridor, mass-producing deadly pathogens, every day pushing truckloads of bacteria along narrow-gauge rails from the factory to the store. The workers would don anti-disease suits made of lightweight rubberized silk. Workers would make bacteria culture medium of agar-agar and meat bouillon in special boilers. The medium then cooled, taken to a room where the bacteria were planted onto 15 different trays. Given nutrients and anti-contaminants were added, then incubated. After the workers left the factory floor and undressed, they would chew on red apples and spit the pieces out, hoping it would absorb any live bacteria that accidentally entered their mouths. That's what we were missing from the COVID pandemic, just the blow up of people eating apples.
Yeah.
Oh, you had COVID? I got to eat an apple now.
Yeah, that will absorb everything.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it will or not. I can't think that it would.
That's like thinking, oh, I've been poisoned, better put a sponge in my mouth.
Yeah, or I'll suck the venom out.
Oh, yeah. No, you pee on it. That's what you do. When you get bitten by a snake, you pee on it. On the snake. That's a fuck
pee
you.
On the snake, so it bites you too.
Yeah.
But by the time it gets to you, it's used up all its venom already. So then it's just,
Yeah, well, you got one back on him.
Yeah.
You know. So, yeah. Fuck that snake.
Fuck that snake. Fuck you, snake. Bite my friend. Snake, he's going to die here while I listen to you. It would take about 2 days until they would harvest the new bacteria plague. So, I mean, 2 days for God knows how much. This was so large, the production plant, that in the heyday of Unit 731, it had the potential for creating enough bacteria to kill the world's population multiple times over. I mean, they were churning the shit out.
There's an awful lot of Petri dishes.
Yeah, I imagine the overhead's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
Well, you just see people eating like snacks out of the Petri dish. They have so many. Just eating snacks.
Oh, God. Eating it. Hey, somebody left all this apple sitting right here. You pre-chewed it for me, too.
Now, how best to deliver the organisms to the enemy? This is where many of the experiments originate.
FedEx.
Yeah. Oh, just like swab a goose and throw it into a population. Now, Ishii found that you could not just drop bombs filled with bare germs. His research shows that the strong air pressure and extreme heat, dysentery, typhoid, paratyphoid, cholera, plague, and even the hardy anthrax would die off almost 100% of the time. So he looked to the humble flea. Since more than a dozen types of fleas are known to bite humans, he realized he didn't need to safely transport the bacteria, but to transport the flea, who, if any of you have ever had fleas in your house, it is almost impossible to kill. I don't know if you've ever had fleas, Dan, but it's fucking horrible.
No.
Oh, God, our old house, we brought a cat in. We had saved a cat and brought it in. And fleas just fucking, next thing I know, we're just getting eaten alive. And we ended up moving out of that house. They foreclosed on it. We just kind of, a little look into my tragic past. They had foreclosed on our house. This was many, 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 many years ago. And so we kind of packed up the stuff that we wanted and left. But there was still some stuff back in the house that we needed. So we had to go back there a couple weeks later, and I was like, well, we had fleas, so I'm going to take in some bug bombs and bomb the place. I walk in to set one of these bug bombs, and my jeans turned black from the amount of fleas that fucking jump on me. It was infested is not a strong enough word. I was dying when I finally got back outside. I had to spray the bomb onto myself to get the fleas off of me. It was fucking horrible. So anybody out there who's ever had fleas or had to put up with fleas or anything, they are a nightmare. So how they got away with making so many and nobody dying from getting bit so much, I don't know. But anyway, so how do you get the disease into the tiny flea? Well, through rats. Rats were used extensively through the time of Unit 731. They would both be used to breed the flea and to maintain the strength of the germ. They would give it to the rat, and the rat would shit it out, and then they'd take they'd take the blood from the rat and they'd give it to another rat. So it kept moving along through the system, getting stronger and stronger and stronger. At least that's what they thought was happening.
Yeah.
Now they would at peak times of production, members of the force would go out in civilian clothes to go rat catching. The facility could hold at any one time tens of thousands of rats, and they had more than 4,000 cultivators, each capable of producing 10 to 15 grams of fleas in each production cycle. So if you take the average weight of a flea, which is 0.75 milligrams, it can be anywhere between half a milligram and a full milligram, so average is about 0.75 milligrams. And at 12.5 grams of fleas for average, you're looking at around 16,666 fleas per cultivator. 4,000 cultivators equals around 66,664,000 fleas per cycle. So, billions of fucking fleas created at Unit 731. At first, they tried spraying them from aircrafts with compressed air, but to hit a target, they would have to fly too low. Flying too high, and the dispersion would be too much. It's not to say that they didn't use a sprayer, because they did, and you'll hear examples of it, but it wasn't Ishii's preferred method. Metal-cased bombs prove fatal to the flea.
Of course.
Obviously. They're not cockroaches. They can't live through everything. But yeah, just a metal bomb just blowing up.
You get a hand grenade, just sellotape all the fleas to it.
Just get one of those lint rollers and just roll the fleas and throw it at somebody. Just crumble up and throw. Crumble up, throw. One night, Ishii had an epiphany. What
straw.
About...
Put them in his mouth and at people. Make sure he's chew some apple afterwards.
Yeah. He's going to get inventive with some of these things here in a second. But he looked at his at Japan's ceramics and his ceramic water filter, and he thought, what about ceramic? What about clay bombs? Ceramic would detonate easier with less explosives needed to break it apart, which meant less heat, so they took about building them. A 25-kilogram bomb filled with plague-infected fleas, oxygen, and sand. The nose contained an impact delay fuse and a busting tube of 500 grams of TNT. The bomb would shatter into 1 million pieces, leaving no trace. Because that was key. They wanted to infect these areas, but they didn't want people to be like, Japan is doing this. Ceramic's going to just kind of disintegrate. Metal bomb's going to leave pieces everywhere. Now, these bombs could be dropped from high altitudes beyond anti-aircraft fire. Bombs carrying tetanus and anthrax were considered suitable for the battlefront. Typhoid and dysentery were seen best for attacking troops concentrated in the rear. They also looked at botulism, tuberculosis, cholera, gas gangrene, glanders, influenza, meningococcus, salmonella, smallpox, tick encephalitis, tuberculosis, tularemia, typhus, fugu, which is the blowfish poison.
Nice.
Epidemic.
And pink eye.
epidemic hemorrhagic fever, and Tsutsumugushimi fever, which I don't even fucking know what that is.
What?
Tsutsugamushi fever. Yeah. Some would be administered by bomb, others by contaminating water supplies or releasing plague-infected rats soaked with fleas into areas with a dense population. Also, foodstuffs, vegetables, fruit, fish, and meat were infected and handed out in populated areas. Ishii researched dropping infected feathers from planes infected with plague flea. He invented a plague flea spraying fountain pen and walking stick.
Why didn't they just put them into soy sauce bottles?
Can I get your autograph? Oh, sure.
Yeah, that'd be fucking brilliant.
Yeah. Anthrax infected chocolates and floating glass bottles that would explode in waterways, releasing a bacterial suspension into the water, usually dysentery, typhoid, or cholera. They'd go out and they'd do like a goodwill mission almost and hand out clothing that was just laced with anthrax and cholera and God knows what else. Just the most diabolical fucking cartoon villain bullshit.
That's terrible. And they put them onto all the Pokemon, got them all infected.
Gotta catch them all. Yeah. Typhoid, dysentery. I did catch them all, and I died. One of the methods used to spread cholera was through dogs. In one village, dogs were caught and fed pork laced with cholera, then returned to the village. The dog would eventually throw up, and another dog would come along and eat it, spreading the disease. As you do. Yeah. The dogs would also be stricken with diarrhea, and the feces would spread the disease among other dogs and to people. Some 20% of those who contracted the illness died. Survivors told of hearing the cries of sick people from their homes as they suffered. It's just fucking horrible.
I was going to say it's bullshit, but it's not. It's dog shit. But...
Very good.
Yeah. That's very inventive man, to be fair.
Yeah. Give him, you got to give him an A for effort.
Yeah.
Which even though effort starts with an E. Anyway, October 1940, plague germs. Effort. October 1940, plague germs mixed with wheat, corn, cloth scraps, and cotton were dropped from the air on the port city of Ningbo. Kwan Gufa, a resident of the area attacked, was 14 at the time. He was infected but managed to recover. He recounts, quote, "One day a Japanese plane flew over and kept circling. Then it dropped something that looked like smoke. It was wheat flour and corn and other things. The next day, people started getting sick. 3 days later, the tofu shop owner's 2 children were dead, and other people were getting sick and dying. Nobody could understand what had happened. My own family died, one after another. There was misery all around. Everyone who died did so in pain and agony, going into convulsions. At first, the bodies turned red. Then, after death, they turned black." Black plague,
Yeah.
Yeah. More than 100 people died within a few days. The affected area was closed to the public and remained sealed off until the 1960s, when it was asserted positively that there was no further risk of infection. You could say, again, Ishii being, his daughter said he was a very caring person. He reads this in the newspaper and smiles and brags about how many people died because of what he did. He was happy about it. And this would actually lead people to suspecting that Japan was doing something with biological weapons, because Again, the Black Death was spread by fleas who ate off of rats, but there were no rats found in the area. So it was like, well, how did the fleas get there? So people start putting stuff together. Like, this was a fucking plan. Now, in April of 1942, the United States launched the Doolittle Raid, a bombing raid on Japan's home island. I think they just dropped people who could talk to animals.
Dropping Eddie Murphy, Robert Downey Jr. Let's get this shit on.
The raid, though limited in damage, killing only 90, was a significant psychological blow to Japan, as it demonstrated that even the mainland was not invulnerable to attacks. The bombers involved in the raid had launched from aircraft carriers and intended to land in China after the mission. Several American airmen survived and were aided by Chinese civilians and the Chinese resistance in regions as Shenzhen, the modern day Shenzhen, and Kangxi province. Now, the Japanese command, outraged by the assistance offered to the Americans, decided to punish the Chinese population and eliminate potential airfield strikes that could enable future raids. The Shenzhen campaign was conducted by over 100,000 Japanese troops, supported by air power, artillery, and logistics supply lines. Ishii decided to contaminate on the ground as well as in the air. So when the armies left the town of Ishii's unit stayed behind to continue contaminating the ground. Approximately 300 men sprayed germs and infected water supplies in and around the cities of Yushin, Qinghua, and Fuxing. The hope that the Chinese forces would invade the territory and be engulfed in epidemics. Cholera, dysentery, typhoid, plague, anthrax, and paratyphoid were all used. Flasks containing pure germs were poured into reservoirs, wells, and rivers. Containers were tossed into houses. Planes dropped ceramic bombs filled with germs from the air. The campaign was seen as a success, even though thousands of Japan's own soldiers were later infected when unknowing squads inadvertently overran a contaminated area.
I thought you're going to accidentally drink out of the wrong bottle or something.
Yeah.
He just completely takes a swig out of the old Ebola bottle or something. He's like, go, go, go.
It's got a little bit of a tang to it. What is that? Dysentery? Oh.
Yeah.
But that's the type of thing that's going to happen when you're not open with what you're doing. Be like, just go in there and just eviscerate everything with disease. And then your own troops come in because they don't know. Most of the people in the Japanese military didn't know that Japan was fucking infecting everybody they came across with these horrible diseases. It's like every time we leave a town, it's just everybody dies from like cholera.
Yeah, everybody's coughing their lungs up and shitting themselves. And
I guess maybe that the Japanese are so indoctrinated by that time into thinking that the Chinese are scum and subhuman that they're thinking, these people are just constantly sick and die from disease because they're just dirty people.
They couldn't handle the awesomeness of the Japanese. That's
we walk in and all of a sudden they start vomiting blood. I mean, how awesome are we?
Yeah. See that guy over there? He first saw me, shit his pants. Proper shit his pants. Yeah, coming out both ends.
It's just dripping out of him. Jesus Christ. Now, as we know from our Nanking episodes, the Japanese always loved a photo op to show how great they treated their enemy. So during the Shenzhen campaign, Ishii's unit went to a prison camp that held around 3,000 Chinese POWs. Some of these were given rolls to eat. photographs taken to illustrate Japan's benevolence to her enemies, these rolls had secretly been injected with typhoid and paratyphoid. Just, what is that creamy filling?
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah. I was going to say the exact same thing.
Is that chantilly? Typhoid. I knew I tasted the orange zest. The prisoners were then released to take their infection back behind enemy lines. Cakes.
So don't forget to take your care package on the way out. More rolls, everybody.
Just more rolls. Just a Texas Roadhouse basket full of rolls. Cakes contaminated with typhoid were left scattered in temporary camps for Chinese peasants to find. It's like handing out Halloween candy with fucking glass in it. It's the most just evil shit.
I'm never going to go near a sweet roll in Skyrim ever again, though.
Yeah. If I ever get the chance to go to Japan, I will not be eating any of the pastry.
I'm eating all that damn pastry. It looks so good.
Just be like, oh, it looks good. Does this have cholera? Anthrax.
We got rid of that back in like 1989.
I'm going to eat it anyway. But I see you. I see what you're doing.
Can't be as bad as a Twinkie, so you'd be okay.
I fucking love Twinkies. I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, without a Twinkie, the whole basis of Zombieland just doesn't matter anymore. It's well, Zombieland is just based on him getting that fucking Twinkie. Without it, he's got no point of living. So, I mean, come on. Now, a person with typhoid fever can have symptoms including prolonged high fever, fatigue, headache, nausea, abdominal pain, and constipation or diarrhea. Some patients may have a rash. Severe cases may lead to serious complications or even death. And it is very contagious. And it's estimated that between the firefight... Yes, the death is very contagious. Mm-hmm. He died. Fuck. And then you die. And then the next guy dies. It just keeps going. And then the world's done. And it might be a better place. Who knows? It's estimated that between the firefighting and the biological warfare that over 250,000 civilians were killed during this campaign. Which, is a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's China, so they still have plenty of people, but still, that's a lot. November and December of the next year, they did the same thing to the city of Changde, releasing pathogens like plague, cholera, typhoid, anthrax, killing thousands and leaving the entire area uninhabitable for decades after. But with as horrible as all of this was, the infecting of entire cities, the killing off of whole villages, it still isn't as brutal as what happened inside the facility at Pingfang in Blocks 7 and 8. And that's where we'll pick up with a myriad of human experiments, forced sex acts, tests in extreme hot and extreme cold, and first-hand accounts from those that were there on Episode 2 of Japan's Unit 731.
ESPN 8, the Ocho.
Right after the Dodgeball Championship. So this is going to be a 3-part series. I know normally in the past we've done 3-part series like Nanking, I believe Paul Bernardo. We would do 3 weeks in a row. With this series, we are going to stick to our every other week schedule, just for personal reasons. We both still have a lot going on, and honestly, having to sit down and record week after week after week for the next 3 weeks would be kind of hard for both of us to do. So we're just going to stick to the same schedule. I don't know what to tell you. It is what it is.
Yeah. Just have to like it, people.
Yeah.
But Kevin has spoken.
That's the way it's going to fucking be. But anyway, thanks to our patrons, Willow Quinn Fowler, Nevin, and Sam Gray. You can sign up for our Patreon at patreon.com/torturepod. 1 week of our cult leader tier for free. Connect with us on all the socials at Torturepod. We're still on TikTok. The gram, as the kids say these days, the gram. Blue Sky, the good ones. Email torturepod@gmail.com. Buy me a coffee /torturepod. Redbubble.com/torturepod. Redbubble.com/people/torturepod for merch. All Pride merch profits donated to the Trevor Project, which I think here, maybe not across the world, but here in America is definitely needed right now because they are on a systematic, one-minded goal of eliminating anybody in the LGBTQ plus community. So go rate wherever you can, and thank you to our sponsors. You could support us by supporting them. Dan, any words of wisdom?
I hadn't got anything pre-prepared for this one, but I think it's kind of easily falls in line with what I think was one of my very first ever ones, which was don't lick the bottom of your shoes, but like definitely don't lick anything in Japan. By the sounds of this, like just just don't do it.
There's large parts of Manchuria in China that are still just coated in God knows what. I just don't.
Well, that's it exactly. And he said just be wary of people offering you free rolls.
Yeah. If you see a cake just laying on the ground, maybe don't pick it up and eat it. Trust me, for a fat bastard as myself, it is hard to see a cake on the ground and not just pick it up and eat it. But ooh, cake? Oh, coconut? Okay. I'll just spit out the fruit parts.
That isn't coconut. That's like desiccated fucking Ebola or something. That's what that is.
It's anthrax that has been solidified and then shaved off.
Yeah. But yeah, don't be doing that shit, people.
We were staying at my ex's parents' house for a little while back, a couple decades ago, and this wasn't long after the whole 9/11 shit, and people started getting anthrax sent into the mail to them. So we go outside to their front porch, and there's a bag of powdered donuts just sitting on the stairs, and nobody knew where they came from. Granted, they lived across the street from a bar, so there's a good chance somebody drunk just left them there or something. But my in-laws at the time were certain that somebody had laced these donuts with anthrax and left it on their front porch.
It's only one way to find out, people.
You're not important enough for somebody to try to kill you with anthrax.
This one's safe.
They were calling the police. Like, somebody left these. We think they're covered in anthrax. Like, why would anybody target you two schlomo with anthrax?
Some poor guy just being nice, charitable, giving out donuts to everybody.
He's just a guy throwing donuts to people. I mean, fuck.
Yeah. Poor guy.
Yeah, if you're in Japan and somebody walks up to you with a roll and they're in like an Imperial Japanese Army uniform and they have a notebook and a paper or a notebook and a pencil, don't eat what they give you.
And a gas mask.
Or at least, know what you're getting. Maybe, you could eat it. I probably would still eat it, but I'd be like, oh, I know what you're doing. Don't you think I don't? I'm going to eat this, but I know what you're doing. All right.
Bastards.
Well, episode this one was not as brutal as the one that is going to come next time.
It's still pretty bad.
The next one is going to be it's still pretty bad. It's not great. The next one's going to be bad. The next one, it's not going to be as bad as it could have been because there's some stuff I left out just because I just couldn't. I even told my wife, I was like, I got to leave this stuff out because it's Dan and I. It's not going to be fun for Dan and I to talk about that. So, but it's going to be brutal. There's going to be a lot of stuff that you're going to go. So come with your nausea bags ready. Dan, you might need to get some dad jokes or something ready for.
That's what my other side of my pouch is for.
Dirty Kleenex is one side.
The next time,
the other.
And then this side is going to be puking into.
There you go. Yeah, so some of it gets pretty bad. So I don't know if. Well, we'll find out. We'll see if it rates up there with the Nanking episodes or not, because it's going to be close. It's bad. I think the only time we'll top it is when
I'll
we
bring
finally
a list of.
It's going to be bad as well. So
I'll bring a list of did you knows. That's what I'll do. I'll just interrupt you every now and again.
Yeah.
Did you know? And give you some stupid movie fact.
Yeah. And then his anus fell out. Did you know that they used air conditioners? It's all right, fuck. And a lot of people are going to bitch and complain and be like, oh, you could have just made it 2 episodes. Yeah, we could have, but I didn't feel like doing 2.5 hour long episodes, because that's a bitch and a half to.
Yeah, and I'm hungry. So
yeah, so. And he's not going to want to eat after talking about what
yes, Sam.
About, so. All right. Yes, Sam. It's all your fucking fault. This is your idea. I was going to cover it anyway, but he just kind of, he asked for it. So. All right, well, take care of yourselves. Take care of one another. We'll see you.
Sayonara.